I think it's just really important to realize that this tradition of the spiritual and art goes very far back. And then I think it's also interesting just historically that if you look at the art in Europe, when early Christianity began in Europe, most all the paintings and all the artwork was Christian, religious iconography. And then in the Renaissance, things changed. Paintings became more about the material world, objects, people, common everyday things. But then at the beginning of the 20th century, artists, this wasn't enough for them to just represent reality. They wanted something more. So they started searching, and Theosophy just happened to appear right at that time. So here's where we begin. The world reverberates. It is a cosmos of spiritual working human beings. So I think there's really 5 directions from theosophical sources in the work of spiritually motivated artists and writers. The cosmic imagery that they used, the idea of vibration, the energetic vibration, synesthesia, duality, sacred geometry, all those things appeared in these artists' work. The artists explored the mysterious and the spiritual. They wanted to investigate the meaning of the cosmos. They were interested in mystical and occult sources, just as Blavatsky, the founder of the Theosophical Society, was. And they read the Secret Doctrine and other theosophical works. Artists like Edward Munch, Yeats, William Blake were inspired also by theosophical ideas. And these artists developed non-representational forms to convey spiritual and psychic realities through music, poetry, and art. So unexpectedly, I'm reading the quote now here, almost by the way, Theosophy generated a visual language that entered into the mainstream of 20th century art. The impact of Theosophy on art was selective but enduring. This is from a book called The Spiritual and Art, which really traces how important Theosophy was in the early 20th century. Theosophy's multi-leveled universe, its promise that human consciousness can evolve, its assurance that human beings belong to an unseen world of grace and power, its abstract imagery and color symbolism, all of these would enter into the work of a handful of pioneering modern artists in forms now familiar to us. Theosophy tells us about our place in the universe and why the world is the way it is. Although it agrees in many respects with scientific theories, it goes past them in addressing unseen realities that we all experience but often don't understand. The Theosophical authors like Leadbeater and Annie Besant wrote books describing, for instance, the color of auras, the energetic fields around everybody, and of thought forms. Some clairvoyant people can actually see these fields, and the illustration you're seeing is from a book by Dora Kuntz, who was a clairvoyant, and she could actually see these auras and describe them to an artist who painted them. I remember when I was first painting and I got excited by these ideas, I actually tried to do this myself, and it was an interesting experiment. It was fun. People with synesthesia can see colors when hearing sound and music. Annie Besant wrote that theosophical ideas were the ground for artistic experimentation across Europe and North America, and indeed they were. Also, there were many other ideas conveyed through the ancient wisdom tradition in Theosophy and Eastern religions like Buddhism, Hinduism, and Western mysticism, and these all influenced these early artists.